Aaron.
Yeah.
Why didn't you say it the first time I said Aaron?
Because it's pronounced Aaron?
You done messed up, Aaron!
I don't know if you guys can hear me. Test, test, test. Okay, good. You guys can hear me. Welcome back for more SPTV. Where every day is a great day. Not to be in a cult. Okay, so not a great day for Scientologist Joe Cicala, founder and CEO of a company called Dream Exchange, which is supposed to be a new stock exchange specifically for Black-owned businesses, which doesn't make a ton of sense to me. I'm going to get into that a little more after I share with you the article from the Wall Street Journal from yesterday, talking about a new SEC investigation into Joe Cicala and Dream Exchange over whistleblower allegations that the company has misappropriated money to Scientology. Joe Cicala himself is a high-level wealthy Scientologist. Joe Cicala's son, Joe Jr., is the executive director of the Church of Scientology in Chicago. And I have it on pretty good authority from inside sources that Joe Cicala, through whatever funds he has access to, whether it's his personal funds or whether it's company funds, I do not know. Joe Cicala is basically personally responsible for essentially propping up financially the Church of Scientology of Chicago, whether that's just through straight donations to the organization to help it pay its bills, or whether it's from putting Scientology staff members onto the payroll of Dream Exchange. Yeah. Anyway, we'll get it. I'll give you my thoughts on some of the items in this article. And also, I found a video. Well, actually, it's on Dream Exchange's own YouTube channel, which is a very small YouTube channel. But the video is just a couple weeks old of Joe Cicala speaking at the 125th annual Black Business Conference. It's a 5-minute clip where he talks about Dream Exchange. After we look at the article, I'm going to share this video with you. I think it's pretty interesting. But let's start by taking a look at this article here. This is from the Wall Street Journal. This is from yesterday. SEC probes Scientology connections at startup stock exchange. Investigators have questioned former Dream Exchange employees about allegations that it misappropriated funds. Okay, this is a photograph. Joe Cicala on the left. By the way, you cannot find a photograph of this man smiling anywhere. He looks exactly like this in every photograph I find of him. Joe Cicala on the left there. And I always forget the name of the guy on the right. Let me see. It says, Dwayne Kyles. Dwayne Kyles, by the way, not a Scientologist. Joe Cicala, Scientologist. All right. Investigators at the SEC have recently probed Chicago-based startup Dream Exchange and its ties to Scientology. Former Dream Exchange employees have spoken to investigators from the SEC's Chicago office in recent weeks. People familiar with the matter said. The investigators asked about a whistleblower's allegations that the startup stock exchange had misappropriated investor funds. They also asked about other connections with Scientology-affiliated organizations. The interviews followed reporting by the Wall Street Journal last month that Dream Exchange and its leadership team have extensive ties to Scientology and entities connected to Scientology. The SEC's civil investigation into Dream Exchange was in its early stages and might not necessarily lead to any allegations of wrongdoing. Dream Exchange's lawyer said that claims made against Dream Exchange and its founder are false and meritless. Financial records show that funds moved from Dream Exchange LLC into an account at its parent company owned by founder and CEO Joe Cicala, which made donations to Scientology-affiliated organizations. Some investors have requested their money back after the Journal article, according to records seen by the Journal and people familiar with the matter. Dream Exchange has denied that it misappropriated investor funds. The lawyer says that any donations made to Scientology were Joe Cicala's own personal matter, and the exchange had no knowledge of them. A representative for Scientology has said that Scientology does not engage in any business activities and accused the Wall Street Journal of trying to name and target its believers. It is a little strange to me that Scientology would act like identifying someone as a Scientologist is somehow problematic or targeting them. Scientologists are not supposed to shy away from identifying themselves as Scientologists. In fact, Scientology has a term for someone who is afraid to identify themselves or be identified as a Scientologist. And that term is PTS, or potential trouble source. In Scientology, there's many different ways to be PTS. There's many different types of PTSness. But somebody who is so embarrassed of being a Scientologist, or doesn't want to talk about being a Scientologist, or doesn't want to identify themselves as a Scientologist, is called a potential trouble source, or PTS. And they are not allowed to continue doing Scientology courses or auditing until that PTS situation is resolved. So this is just something that, the hypocrisy of Scientology, of like telling their members that there's something wrong with having a problem with being identified as a Scientologist, but then they will still point the finger at, you're just trying to target Scientologists by identifying them. It's just typical Scientology hypocrisy. Okay, Dream Exchange is a relatively new entrant into the world of capital markets and has applied to the SEC for a license. It says its mission is to boost Black and minority business owners by helping them list on a stock exchange and get funding from investors. Okay, so quick little comment here. I have done as much research as I am willing to do in preparation of this video to truly understand how Dream Exchange is supposed to specifically help Black-owned or minority-owned businesses. And my research has indicated, again, I haven't done the deepest research one could possibly do, that this is all somewhat of a smoke and mirror sham operation to bilk the Black community out of investor money. This is my personal opinion. It seems to me that all Joe Sakala and Dream Exchange have attempted to do is to lower the barrier of entry and the cost of getting a privately owned business listed on a public stock exchange. And any research I've done to try to understand how this business venture is supposed to specifically help Black-owned or minority-owned businesses, to me, has just led down the path of making it cheaper to get listed as a public company. And I guess it seems to me that Joe Sakala has simply decided to frame this as, if I'm putting myself in Joe Sakala's shoes and speaking as Joe Sakala would speak, it would seem to me that what he's basically saying is, do you know who can't afford to get their company listed on stock exchanges? Companies who don't have enough money. And do you know whose companies tend not to have enough money? Minority-owned companies. So I'm going to go to minority business owners and say, boy, do I have a deal for you. Because I've tried to look up, I'm sorry, I don't understand. Is this stock exchange only, are you not allowed to list your company on this exchange if you're like a white-owned business? And it seems like, no, anybody can list their company theoretically on Dream Exchange once it has a license. It's just that they've just made it cheaper. And so Joe has decided, in my opinion, it seems this is like a marketing gimmick almost, to be like, do you know who I'm going to say this is for? Not just companies that don't have a bunch of money or can't afford the listing. I'm going to say it's for Black people. Like, honestly, that's what it seems to me. I cannot wrap my mind around it any other way. Okay, so here we go. Oh, yeah, that's all right. We already read that paragraph. The SEC has a November deadline to approve or reject the exchange's application, which would allow it to launch a trading platform. The whistleblower complaint sent to the SEC in February alleged that Dream Exchange had misappropriated funds and allowed some of its employees who were Scientologists to volunteer for the church on company time. The lawyer had previously said that Dream Exchange had no knowledge of any whistleblower complaint and had not been contacted by the SEC about such a report. The whistleblower complaint also accused Sakala, who is white, of making racist comments. In one meeting last year, Joe Sakala called himself the whitest N-word using a slur and claimed he understood Black people better than his own Black employees, according to a copy of a different internal complaint viewed by the Journal. Okay, the lawyer said an internal investigation into the incident concluded there was no racial animus. He said the Journal's description of the incident based on the internal complaint mischaracterized a confidential personal matter. Okay, I like how he said there was no racial animus and not that Joe Sakala did not say that. I'm sure Joe Sakala meant, I meant it in the best possible way. I meant it in a good way, not a bad way. So there was no animus. Okay, Joe. By the way, so the video that I'm going to show you, it's just a 5-minute video, just under 5 minutes on the Dream Exchange website, is the only way I finally know how to pronounce Joe Cicala's name. And it's how I know he pronounces it Cicala, not Cicala, because that's how he introduces himself. Anyway, let's just watch this, guys. I figured you might be interested to see how does Joe speak? What does he sound like? What's his pitch? Do you trust this guy? Would you invest with this guy? Does it seem like a huckster? What's the deal here? So let's check this out. Here we go.
Washington of Lifetime Awards in the Local Dream Exchange.
Good evening. Okay. My name is Joe Cicala, and I'm the founder and the CEO of the Dream Exchange. The Dream Exchange is on the precipice of being granted license to be a national stock exchange in the United States of America. And to give you the order of magnitude, it is perhaps the most difficult registration of any business license to obtain in the country, which puts us as a direct competitor of the New York Stock Exchange, the NASDAQ Stock Exchange, the CBOE, and the 6 others. But we are different, and we're here. And I want to say to you that it is truly my honor to be able to speak to you for a moment tonight. And I mean my honor. 125 years ago, Booker T. Washington said, the opportunity to earn $1 in a factory is infinitely more valuable than the opportunity to spend $1 in an alcohol.
Guys, I had to replay that a dozen times and I still couldn't understand what he said. So I looked up the quote, just try to find out what it says. And it's in an opera house. The opportunity to earn $1 in a factory is basically a better opportunity than the opportunity to spend $1 at an opera house. That is the quote.
We are about opportunity. There are $40 trillion in our capital markets with a T. And we are here to create opportunity for the Black community to have public companies gain access to that $40 trillion pool of money. The third year that we've been a sponsor, and we will be here until the job is done. We want to see you after we're registered, because we want to see you become a public company and get access to those funds and see the Black community finally fulfill on the dreams of Booker T. Washington and many people who've gone before us. Those opportunities to earn $1 are economically a little different today. It's no longer just $1. It's the opportunity to own your own destiny. Now, I'll leave you with this, because this is one of the favorite quotes by President John F. Kennedy. And he once said that a nation that is afraid to let its people judge truth or falsity in a free and open market is a nation that is afraid of its people. Well, I'm here today because we're not afraid of the communities that need to get access to capital and have the truth of the imagination and the great people that are in the Black community rise up and have the wealth and prosperity that we dream of as a dream. Okay. I'm proud to introduce you the majority shareholder of the nation's next stock exchange, Dwayne Piles.
I just want you to think about one thing. For over 250 years, there have been stock exchanges in America. And those stock exchanges are extraordinarily responsible for the behemoth that is American capitalism. Having access to patient capital to build your business is something that our community simply has not had the pleasure of knowing much about. Joe Cicala could be really rich, working not half as hard, because he's the only person like him who decided that he was going to do something to make sure that we made American capitalism inclusive and something that all of us can share, because the only way that we're going to rebuild our communities is through capitalism. Now, we want to make a better capitalism, but it's going to be capitalism in this country. And if you're thinking anything else, I'm sorry to tell you, you're in the wrong place. Okay, you can do it here, and we can export it across the country. And I'm so excited about being here and about the diversity of this audience internationally, because we can be a real driver for the success of our people across the United States. And we have to. I also want to take a moment to recognize and thank Dr. Ken Harris, who I don't ever want to come speak after you, ever. And Charles Thibault, because what they have done by checking their egos at the door and enabling us to come together as we have is pretty much unprecedented. As far as
All right, I'm just going to stop it there. I mean, my bullshit detector is kind of off the charts on this entire thing. It's a stock market. It's a stock market. Quotes from Dr. Martin Luther King, quotes from John F. Kennedy, quotes from Booker T. Washington, the $40 trillion capital markets. It's like, this is all just bullshit. This is all just bullshit. Perhaps I think I can see some value in providing a way for companies to become publicly listed in a way that isn't so expensive to do the process. You can have fraud in privately held companies just as easily as you can have fraud in publicly traded companies. But when you introduce the publicly traded element, fraud actually becomes in some ways much easier and also much more serious. You can very easily get wrapped up in securities fraud. You get into pump and dump stock schemes, juicing the books and fraudulently driving up the value of stocks and just trying. It's almost like, it reminds me of the housing crisis, where not to oversimplify it, but a ton of people were basically given loans they didn't qualify for. And banks then sort of hid the fact that a lot of these loans were underperforming and then sold them. I'm oversimplifying this. But there is something to be said for having a barrier to entry. And for someone being like, oh, we're doing a community a huge service by just making it so much easier to become publicly traded. And you're like, sure. That doesn't sound totally above board to me. And it just seems so crazy to me that it's just some white Scientologist acting like he's doing the black community a service by creating an exchange where listing your company is just cheaper. And then dangling this carrot, oh, there's $40 trillion of money. Come and get it. Just support my business venture is going to help you access this $40 trillion. Like, this isn't how serious people represent stock exchanges, in my opinion, my limited, unqualified opinion. And even when Dwayne Kyles said Joe Cicala could be really rich working not half as hard, it's like, so wait a second, are you pitching the benefits of the business, or are you trying to pitch Joe Cicala as some sort of a white savior? First of all, Joe Cicala is rich, and to be like, oh, he's doing us such a favor. He doesn't need to be working this hard for us. This whole thing stinks to high heaven, in my opinion. So you have Joe Cicala, who's the founder and CEO, but Dwayne Kyles is the majority shareholder. Now, I look, if you look at the history of how Dream Exchange came to be and which LLCs were created when, and the parent company and the holding company and all this kind of stuff, is like Joe Cicala very specifically had to restructure the business so that Dwayne was the majority shareholder, so that he could say this was a majority black owned and operated stock exchange. And it's like, the whole thing stinks to high heaven. The fact that it wouldn't surprise me in the least if the SEC, while investigating, did very much verify and confirm that Joe Cicala has been using investor funds in Dream Exchange to financially prop up the Church of Scientology of Chicago in ways that are not above board. I mean, I would not surprise me in the least. Okay, let's see. That's what's been reported. Let's look at some starred comments here and we'll wrap this one up. CEO Bilf, Expansion Funding Partners LLC. With a name like that, I don't know how anyone could expect It is a front for Scientology. Right, exactly. Old Frizz, that's Scott H's dad. I don't know what that means. Kelly, Aaron, did you get your gift you forgot at the party? I think George LeBlanca has the gift that you're talking about. Thank you, Kelly. Force of delightful nature. When someone claims they know you more than you do, it makes me want to give them the side eye. Yes. Poof 911. The SEC does not play. I know a contract lawyer whose firm received an SEC complaint from a disgruntled client. It took 2 years of agents coming in, demanding files, etc., before they were cleared. Nicole Zarnecki. Unless Mark Segala is of any black descent, he is particularly racist and patronizing. I think you mean Joe Cicala, but that's okay. Jill Davidson, thank you very much. Poof 911. I was hoping the SEC would get involved with Scientology eventually. It's always something. Cicala seems like David Miscavige's Chicago boy, since he was called out and stood up at the Chicago org opening with David Miscavige. I'll tell you, the reason that happened is because Joe Cicala is, I believe, the largest single financial contributor to the new Ideal Org building for the Church of Scientology of Chicago. And I think Miscavige knows that not only was he the largest contributor to the new building, but his financial support is the reason most of the Chicago staff members can't even afford to be on staff. I've been told by people with personal knowledge of the matter that basically everyone knows these Scientology organizations don't make enough money to pay their staff a living wage. And so one of the ways that most of the Chicago Day staff are able to be on staff is that they are on Dream Exchange's payroll. Now, I have been led to believe that many of these jobs are basically no-show jobs. Like they don't really work at Dream Exchange. They're just on the Dream Exchange payroll. And that's how many of these staff members can afford to put food in their mouths while working full-time in the Church of Scientology where they don't make any money. Now, I can't prove that to be a fact, and I don't know it to be a fact. It's just what I've been told. But when I hear that the whistleblower complaint includes Joe Cicala allowing Dream Exchange staff to go and work at the Church of Scientology during business hours, to me, that's exactly what that means. Remember, Joe Cicala's son, Joe Jr., is the executive director of the Church of Scientology, Chicago Day. Now, what that means is the Day org operates Monday through Friday, 9 to 5. In other words, normal business hours. Okay. So I'm assuming Dream Exchange also operates during normal business hours. So how can Chicago staff members at the Day org work at the Day org and work at Dream Exchange? It wouldn't be possible unless Dream Exchange is open nights and weekends. I mean, are they open nights and weekends? I don't know. I guess the SEC is going to find out, though. Okay. Valerie Boljak, thank you so much. And Heather O'Neill, the number of times he said black community made me wonder who he was trying to convince, us or him. Exactly. All right, guys, that's what's being reported on Dream Exchange. I guess stay tuned, right? I mean, so what? It's October. The SEC was supposed to make a decision on giving Dream Exchange its license sometime next month. I don't know. I wouldn't be placing any bets on them getting that license, but we'll see soon enough. All right, guys, thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, then you could click right